I used to think the worst pain in life was being broke. Sleeping in your car, counting coins for gas, watching people look through you like you don't exist. Turns out, the real pain comes later, when the same people who once laughed at you suddenly need you, and you have to decide what kind of person you've become. Yeah, this story starts on a flight, but it really starts years before that, back when I was the guy everyone ignored. 8 years ago, I wasn't anybody. I was a junior operations analyst at a regional logistics company in Phoenix, lowest rung shared cubicle, coffee-stained desk, and a boss named Randall Moore who made it very clear I was replaceable. Randall had this habit of talking to me like I was slow, even when I wasn't. He'd lean over my desk, tap the screen with his pen, and say things like, "You sure you can handle this champ loud enough for everyone to hear?" People would laugh not because it was funny, but because laughing felt safer than being next. You know what I mean? I told myself it didn't matter, that I was just there to learn to survive, to get a paycheck. But humiliation has a way of sticking to your skin. The breaking point came during a company retreat. Randall stood up in front of 30 people and joked about how I was the guy who double-checks everything because he doesn't trust himself. Everyone laughed again. I laughed too, because what else do you do when your dignity is being auctioned off in public? That night, sitting alone in my hotel room, I decided something quietly, not dramatically. I decided I was done begging for respect. I didn't quit. I didn't confront him. I just started working differently. I stopped doing what was assigned and started understanding why things were assigned. I stayed late, not to impress anyone, but to learn the systems nobody else wanted to touch. I learned routing algorithms, cost leakage patterns, vendor contracts. I noticed inefficiencies that cost the company millions, stuff nobody cared to fix because it wasn't their department. I documented everything. I built models at home on my own laptop. No applause, no recognition. Just quiet progress. 2 years later, I left. No exit speech, no drama. Randall barely looked up when I handed in my notice. "Good luck out there," he said, the way people say it when they expect you to fail. I smiled and walked out. The next 5 years were brutal and beautiful. I failed twice, burned through savings once, lived off instant noodles and cheap coffee. But I also built something. A logistics optimization startup focused on mid-sized manufacturers, the ones too small for big consulting firms but too big to keep bleeding money. I knew their pain because I'd lived inside it. Slowly, contracts came in. Then bigger ones, then partnerships. Eventually, an acquisition offer I couldn't ignore. That's how I found myself sitting in first class on a flight from New York to San Francisco, wearing a tailored jacket I still wasn't fully comfortable in, sipping a drink I didn't bother to finish. The deal had closed that morning. Life-changing money. The kind that makes you sit back and stare at nothing for a while. I wasn't celebrating. I was just quiet. Then I heard his voice. "Excuse me, sir, I think you're in my seat." I looked up. Randall Moore. Same voice, same posture, same smug little smile. He was holding a boarding pass, clearly flustered. I glanced at mine, then back at him. "Seat 2A, I said calmly. "This one's mine." He squinted at me. You could see the gears turning, trying to place my face. "Do I know you?" I smiled, small and polite. "Used to work for you. Daniel Brooks." Nothing. Then it hit him. His eyes widened just a fraction. "Oh, so, right. Yeah, you were operations, right?" He chuckled awkwardly. "Man, you look different." "Life does that," I said. He shrugged, annoyed, and moved down the aisle toward economy. I thought that was the end of it. I really did. But humiliation doesn't let go that easily. 10 minutes later, a flight attendant approached me. "Sir, could you come with me for a moment?" Her tone was polite but tight. I followed her to the galley where Randall was standing with crossed arms, wearing that familiar expression I remembered all too well. "There's been a misunderstanding," the attendant said. "This passenger claims there's an issue with your seat assignment." Randall didn't look at her. He looked at me. "This guy," he said loud enough for people nearby to hear, "used to work under me. I'm pretty sure he upgraded by mistake. Happens all the time." I felt that old heat rise in my chest. The instinct to shrink, to explain, to soften myself. I let it pass. I paid for this seat, I said evenly. Here's my boarding pass. He waved it off. Come on, let's be realistic. The attendant hesitated. Sir, do you have any proof of purchase beyond the boarding pass? I pulled out my phone, opened my email, and showed her the confirmation. Then, without planning to, I opened another email. The acquisition announcement. Company letterhead. My name at the top. Her eyes flicked across the screen, then back up to me. Her posture changed. Thank you, sir. Please return to your seat. Randall's face tightened. Wait, you're just going to take his word? She turned to him. Sir, please lower your voice. That's when he snapped. This is ridiculous. I know who he is. He's nobody. The word hung there. Nobody. Same as 8 years ago. The attendant straightened. Sir, I need you to calm down, or we'll have to involve the lead purser. Randall laughed sharp and ugly. Go ahead. And she did. The lead purser came, listened, quietly reviewed documents, then turned to Randall. Sir, you'll need to take your assigned seat. If there's further disturbance, we'll have to ask you to disembark. Randall looked around, realizing eyes were on him now. Not laughing eyes, judging ones. He pointed at me. You think you've won, he muttered. Money doesn't change who you are. I met his gaze calm. You're right, I said. It reveals it. He left in silence. Back in my seat, my hands were shaking. Not from fear, from release. Years of swallowed anger finally had somewhere to go, and it went quietly without a scene. After the flight, as I waited for my driver, someone tapped my shoulder. Randall again. He looked smaller now, less certain. Daniel, he said, clearing his throat. Listen, I didn't mean it like that. Back then, we were under pressure. You know how it is. I studied him. The man who taught me exactly how power can rot empathy. Yeah, I said. I know exactly how it is. He waited. For forgiveness. For reassurance. For me to make him feel better. I didn't. I hope you figure it out, I said, and walked away. Here's the thing. This story isn't about revenge. I didn't win because I embarrassed him. I won because his opinion stopped mattering. The real victory wasn't sitting in first class. It was realizing I never needed his approval to succeed. So let me ask you something. When the roles reverse, when power shifts, who do you become? Do you repeat the same cruelty, or do you end the cycle? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment. Share a story. And if you've ever been underestimated, remember this. Sometimes the quietest people are just getting ready.